Think about every product you buy, use, and eventually toss out as a living organism. Okay, not literally, but the business market has strict rules for a product's birth, its growth, how it survives, and inevitably, how it dies.
Welcome to The Explainer. Let's get right into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the innovation imperative. Then we'll dive into developing new products, followed by the product lifecycle itself, and we'll wrap up with marketing strategies for survival.
Starting with Section 1, the innovation imperative, adapt or die. To kick things off, we really need to understand why innovation is just absolutely essential for a company's survival. Relying on the exact same product mix forever, that's essentially a death sentence. The legendary Peter Drucker hit the nail on the head when he pointed out that a business only has two basic functions: marketing and innovation. You either innovate or you perish. It really is that simple.
So what actually counts as true product innovation? We're not just talking about tweaking a button color and calling it a day. It has to be a real evolutionary leap. True innovation means bringing something to the market that genuinely replaces the old way of doing things, opens up completely new possibilities, or significantly broadens an existing market. It's a game changer.
Which brings us to Section 2, developing a new product, the incubation period. Now, a successful new product doesn't just spontaneously appear. It goes through a really meticulous, multi-stage incubation process. A company actually has to move systematically through 7 distinct stages to minimize those massive development costs and, of course, the incredibly high risk of failure. You definitely do not want to skip steps here.
Let's break that down. In the early stages, it's all about gathering raw ideas from literally everywhere. You're listening to customers, keeping an eye on competitors, and brainstorming with the team. Then, you've got to be ruthless. You filter out the weak links in the screening stage to save money. And finally, you take the best surviving idea and transform it into a concrete concept, so you can test it directly with your target audience.
And skipping those early testing steps? Well, that almost always leads to disaster. Take a look at Hindustan Unilever's Hema peas back in the 1960s. They completely flopped. Why? Simply because the Indian market just wasn't culturally ready for packaged convenience foods at that time. It was a total failure of concept testing, and it goes to show that even massive industry titans can stumble if they don't test the waters first.
But if your concept actually survives the public, that's when engineers and marketers take the wheel. They run the numbers to check profit potential, they build physical prototypes, and then they test them in a real localized consumer segment. If the vital signs look strong after all that, it's time for commercialization. You get the final green light, and the product is officially released into the wild.
Let's move into Section 3, the product life cycle, the circle of life.
So once a product is officially born, the real work is actually just beginning. Like we talked about earlier, every single product has a distinct birth, life, and inevitable death. This is what we call the product life cycle. Management has to stay hypersensitive to what is happening with sales and profits as the product ages.
A product generally traverses through 4 distinct stages over its lifespan: introduction, growth, maturity, and finally, decline. Keep in mind, though, this timeline can vary wildly. We could be talking about a few weeks for a fast fashion fad, or it could be decades for something like a classic motorcycle.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 4, Marketing Through Life Stages, Survival Strategies. The biggest takeaway here is that you absolutely cannot treat a mature product the same way you treat a newborn one. In that cash-burning infancy phase, you might be operating at a massive loss just to push for basic brand awareness. But by adulthood, which is the maturity phase, sales growth slows way down. Competitors have likely flagged your territory, meaning you're suddenly forced to squeeze your margins and drop prices just to survive.
It's all about how your pricing, your features, and your promotions biologically evolve as the product matures. During the growth stage, for example, your profits are increasing rapidly, so you can start adding features to really stand out from the crowd. But eventually, you hit that decline stage, where newer, better products start making yours obsolete. At that point, you have to ruthlessly cut your promotional spend and get ready to withdraw the product entirely.
Now, the biggest headache for management is usually that long maturity plateau. If you want to artificially extend the product's life during this phase, you basically have 3 options. You have to find entirely new markets to sell to, heavily modify the product to make it exciting again, or play with your marketing mix, like slashing prices or offering big incentives just to fight off predators and keep your hard-earned position.
So I'll leave you with this to think about regarding the products you manage, or honestly, even just the ones you use every single day. What is their biological clock telling you right now? Are they in their infancy, just burning cash? Or are they in a mature plateau, constantly fighting off competitors? Understanding this life cycle is absolutely crucial for strategic survival. Thanks for joining this explainer.